Yeah, we got. I think we need to move on to our next one, which is national security. If you're ready, go ahead.
I don't think that this administration has done a good job keeping our country safe and appreciating the threat of terrorism.
Perfect. I'll give that was right on time. That's fine
well
with
said.
that. Now, when you say that they haven't done the good job, what would you ask of them that you would think this is the good job that they should have been doing?
My sense from this administration is that they've spent some time apologizing for the United States. I think that they have not appreciated the threat of terrorism. I think that they have not treated our allies as our allies, and they're treating them more as our enemies, and our enemies as our allies. We need to keep our defense and our defense budget. They're making cuts. Dan Maffei voted against giving our troops that have been deployed what they need in terms of a supplemental war funding bill. He didn't want to give money to our Vietnam vets, the victims of Agent Orange. That's not what we should be doing. This nation needs to be strong and secure. And as Ronald Reagan said, we do that through might. We do that through being strong and secure and understanding who our enemies are and treating them appropriately.
And there was something we found we were reading through issues about it, and we
went on your website.
We were on yes, and that is buerkleforcongress.com. And if people are interested, they can go there and learn everything else that we don't necessarily have time to cover today.
Yeah.
But there's something we found very interesting about this issue that we'd like to ask you.
You actually said that Obama has said several times that with the economy, all choices are on the table, and you said that you think it should be the same way for national security, or it should be viewed in the same light. What exactly does that mean? Because we read that and we were just, if everything's on the table, what does that include?
I think the question that we're trying to get is does that include things like torture? Is that a decent? Obviously, that wasn't written there.
Obviously,
but I made that step in my head, so
all things on the table. I'll let you read what you have there.
So that's what I was curious about in terms of...
In regards to national security, I mean... Because
there are arguments that would say that it works. It wouldn't have lasted this long in our existence of history of people if it didn't work. So if that's something you're in favor of, that's fine. I'm just curious if that's all right.
I think that this, as President Obama has mentioned several times, that in regards to the economy, all choices are on the table. I'm not sure how that factors into national security.
I think in the next line it says that you believe that all that should be left that way for national security.
If we misinterpreted, I mean it happens. But we were just kind of curious, just like your stance on national security. It does say that you don't believe that I guess terrorists should have Miranda rights. You don't think that they should go through these high-profile court systems.
I have been consistent with that I believe that the terrorists should be tried in Guantanamo Bay, that they should not be afforded Fourth and Fifth and Sixth Amendment rights.
I mean that
completely agree.
Makes sense. So in terms of those, they should be considered enemy combatants essentially.
Yeah. And they shouldn't be afforded the same rights as American citizens. I mean, we're afforded these rights under the Constitution, the Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendment. That's different than a terrorist.
Which we're fighting for as well.
Exactly.
Right. All right, and let's go on to our last issue, which is education. And go ahead and start when you're ready.
Department of Education is not working for this country. Our kids need...
Go ahead and finish. It's fine.
we really need to change the paradigm. We need to improve our public education system.
And I think in the debates you had mentioned that because the Department of Education is not working so much, that we should probably just get rid of it. Correct?
And my opponent has used this as a very radical position and has taken the next step to say I'm against public education. Quite the contrary. I'm for public education that works and that makes our kids competitive and trains them to be competitive in the world market. The Department of Education has failed, and my position has been this is more of a state's right. Why don't we leave the money and the authority with the states and with the local governments, because they know what's best for the kids. And what we do is we pay taxes to Washington, and then they come back to us with strings attached and with and my thought is just leave the money here locally. Let the state and the local governments decide. They know what's best for their kids.
And along with that, and I think that's a great point, because keep the money more centralized, it makes it easier, and that way we can see sort of differences and allow certain states to experiment, and then perhaps we adopt their stances as well. But I think there's something else very interesting that you mentioned on your website, where it says support businesses being given a dollar-for-dollar tax credit on any donations made to 501c3 scholarship organizations. I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think that is a great thing
Because it's promoting education as well as small business.
and it's allowing those businesses a way to get back into it. And then the other sort of tax thing that was in there as well is that tax-paying parents who use the private school systems or homeschool should be allowed a tax credit so that because they wouldn't necessarily be paying for the school system. My question is, does that almost incentivize avoiding the public schools?
No, I think what it does is it gives people a choice.
Okay.
Just as the voucher programs give people a choice. And parents know what's best for their kids. Some parents want their kids to be in a big public school.
Mm-hmm.
Other parents know, gee, my kid's shy, my kid needs a little bit extra. I want to put him in this kind of an environment. But that should be the parent's choice. And I think it's all of the things you just talked about make public education better because, again, we talked about it with healthcare insurance. If you can put the competition back into it, if you can hold the public schools accountable, if you can talk about merit pay for the teachers, reward them for what the kids are doing and for success, that all makes public education better. And in the long run, this nation has an obligation to our kids to educate them, and that's how we're going to do it best.
So in a sense, it's saying to the public schools, listen, we're going to expect better of you.
I definitely think it's putting the pressure on the public schools because it's giving the parents the option. Like if they want to take their kids elsewhere because the public schools may not be providing the best opportunity for their kids, that gives them the chance to do so. And I think that that's good for education as well as for parents, maintaining parents being parents. It seems to be like a recurring theme right now.
Talking about that earlier. Well, I just want to ask you one more thing, and we're done with our issues now, and you did great with the buzzer. I know it sneaks up on you. You never really expect it.
What is the time? 2 seconds?
It's 5
seconds.
I know. And when you think about just being silent for 5 seconds, it seems like forever.
But when you actually
but anyway,
use
I
words.
just wanted to ask you quickly. There's the most recent poll had you at a 12-point disadvantage from Congressman Maffei. And again, there's still time, and that was taken at the end of last month. So there's still time, and also there's the large discrepancy in terms of finances that has been discussed in the past. And I want to ask you, is there almost like the underdog mentality? Does it feel that way sometimes? And because obviously there's a rooting aspect for that people like to get alongside that.
Yeah.
So do you guys like having that emotion with that? Is that something that you guys feel, or is it just that doesn't really play into it?
No, I think it plays into it. Our polling is far different from what the Post Standards poll was in Sunday's paper. Siena poll is a Democratic pollster, so you have to take that all into consideration.
Fair.
I think the fact that Bill Clinton came into the district, I think the fact that Dan Maffei hasn't released a poll of his own, indications that the polling must be closer than that, what we saw.
Right.
But I think at the end of the day, the people in this district, what their the sentiment is, and you mentioned the money, and this is what I'm going to this point, this seat can't be bought. And if you're on the wrong side of the issues, whether you have $500,000 or $3 million, this seat can't be bought. It's about issues. It's about who's going to best represent upstate New York and Washington. And I think that's the message we've had, that I will be the voice for the people who live here. It's not about special interests. It's not about money. It is about who will be the best representative. And that's our message, and that's the message that's resonating.
And that's what it should be about, the issues. It shouldn't
Right.
be about money. I think this is like stripping politics of all the craziness that we don't need. And I think when it comes down to it, issues should be the number one thing. And I think that's great.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Ms. Buerkle. We had a great. I hope you enjoyed our discussion. I hope we didn't get on you too much. And we apologize for making you nervous. But thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We have to take a break. And again, if you're interested in learning more about Ms. Buerkle, you can go to buerkleforcongress.com. And again, go out and vote.
Most important thing, go vote.
November 2nd, go out and
Yes,
vote.
that's the important thing, is do your civic duty and go out and vote. But thank you so much again for joining us. We really appreciate it. Again, we will have video up on Z89online.com where you can watch the interview in not just audio, but in video too. It's the second dimension here. All right, let's take another quick break. Thanks again to Ms. Ann Marie Buerkle. Much more Orange State right after this.